Hello, hi, namaste, and I'm Momita Gokhale, your transformation coach. And today is such a beautiful morning. Well, it is my season finale, and what better way to close the session with a very special guest? He is my motivator, he is my best friend, he's my guide, he is my mentor. He happens to be one of my biggest critic and also happens to be the better half of my life, my husband, Tejas Gokhale. I'm not going to introduce him professionally. Y'all can always check as to where he is working and what he has been doing. But today he agreed to do this closure where we summarize, where we share, where we discuss what transformation means to the two of us, as well as the intent behind this entire series. And a loud thank you to all my guests who have supported me in this journey, and of course, to my listeners. So, guys, tune in and listen to this conversation, which is the last episode of the podcast series, Rendezvous, the Transformation Story. Hi, Tejas. Thanks for doing this with me.
Hello, and it's really very interesting to have this conversation sitting in two different corners of the same house. But yes, let's go ahead.
And also connecting on the screen. I think this is the wonderful moment for both of us. And what else but transformation bringing us together like this? So, the podcast series, Tejas, I'm aware that you have been following and you have been a great supporter for this as well. Now that you have heard all the 11 episodes, what is your belief about transformation?
I mean, it's been an interesting journey. Listening to almost all of the episodes that you have so far come out with in this series. Uh, Amazing selection of speakers. Uh, Amazing kind of thoughts brought to the table by each one of them. And personally, what struck with me is that how much open all of them were to share their personal stories and their personal beliefs and insights. And before I talk about what I believe in as far as transformation is concerned, I think some of the things that I would probably recollect, having heard all of them, people did talk about change, of course, because transformation means change. A number of them talked about sustained change. A number of them talked about the change being permanent, if it has to be classified as transformation. There were shades of purpose also that came through when people talked about a transformational change. And also, in many of those discussions, it also came out that a lot of transformation today happens in order to stay relevant with the context, because there is so much that is changing around us at all points in time. There is actually not much of a choice but to transform, and that may apply to an individual. It could apply to an organization. It could apply to a business. Look at it whichever way. Uh, from the perspective of my personal belief, I would like to think a little loftier about this topic. And my interpretation in this case of transformation is that not only it is a sustained change, but it is sort of a movement that one creates in order to break the barriers. Very often, when we talk of transformation today, we are generally talking about ourselves. We are generally talking about maybe our team, maybe our function, maybe our organization, which would have an end objective in mind, like more revenue, more profit, more wealth for myself and my family, and so forth and so on. But if you ask me, do a lot of these stories personally would inspire me? I would probably say not. While I was thinking on this topic, there is one story which I have been reading about over and over and over again, reading, viewing, listening, right from my childhood, and I've never stopped getting inspired by it, and which I would like to probably talk about in a couple of minutes today. And that is really the life of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. It inspired me in a different way in my childhood, and probably you would have seen my photograph in the attire of Bal Shivaji. And there are stories around how I got a sword made for myself and so forth and so on. But from then till today, when I'm taking a rest in the evening and putting, those headphones on my head and listening to something, I find that on about 50 to 60% occasions, I'm still listening to different interpretations, different perspectives on the life of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And then what I realized while I was thinking on this topic, it is really the movement that he created. It is really the transformation that he created, not only for himself or his people, but an entire country or an entire subcontinent, which actually has inspired me, and not me, many, many thousands and lakhs of people. The trigger was in a mother, Rajmata Jizabai, who put that thought in his mind in his childhood, which he built upon, inspired a team of people around him, and inspired generations for at least another 100 years after his death. Because the empire that he created, the Swaraj that he created during his meager lifetime of 54 years, actually was expanded 3 to 4-fold by his successors in the next 100 years. So much so that what started with a couple of towns or a couple of forts expanded into probably 60, 70, 80% of the Indian subcontinent. And the legacy that it has left us with is tremendous. The number of people that it continues to inspire has been humongous. And if you ask me, that is what I would call as transformation. Not to undermine the personal transformations that you, me, our friends, people around us undergo. But I think personally, given a choice, I would like to really think beyond the nature of transformations that we have today and see if we can do something much, much beyond to really transform something with a purpose.
Oh my God.
What do you think of this?
I was just mesmerized. Rather, I was, remembering all our conversations because, like the background that I come out with, I had not read so much about Shivaji. And I think all the education that I have about him today and maybe the respect and the stories, it's all from you. And I'm not surprised that you're bringing this story ahead on transformation. But at the same time, Tejas, I guess what you have done is the start and the intent of this entire podcast to break down, to understand transformation. While we have heard several stories, now you have challenged me as a host to take transformation at a different level altogether. I mean, and from a simple person, I mean, the way he has started and the way we talk about him even today in 2023, trying to understand his contributions, the way he led his people, I think that's definitely a transformational story where each one of us should fall back. While I'm listening to you and, I'm trying to remember also the other speakers who have spoken about different versions of transformation, one question that's still there, and I'm sure we have spoken about it informally also, but something that I personally also struggle is to sustain this process. Maybe I'm aware, maybe I know what to work on, maybe I also am seeing transformation within me, the way I am as a human being today. But how to sustain it? What would you say or what would you suggest? How can one sustain this transformation?
No, I think that's a very, very valid question. And probably to come down from the 50,000 feet view that I took and an example which probably for thousands of years nobody could really repeat. If you have to talk about people like you and me, I think one thing which is very, very important in any transformation, be it personal, be it organizational, be it business, is really the self-motivation. I mean, if there is no self-motivation or less self-motivation, your external environment, friends, family, colleagues can only do this much or only do so much for you to sustain a movement or sustain a change that we have initiated. So I think the biggest key here in my view is self-motivation. Beyond self-motivation, I think it really depends on what is the purpose of the transformation and what is the scale of transformation that you are talking about, which will determine the kind of support system that one has to build around oneself so that the momentum is not lost. Because if you talk of an individual, there will always be ups and downs. But if it's a system that you are trying to transform, then you need to create those balancing elements in the system, which will start moving up maybe the moment you are going down a little bit in terms of your energy, your motivation, or for any other reasons. And then, of course, it really depends, what we are talking about here. Another thing, more at an individual level, apart from inner motivation, self-motivation, which I think is critical to undertake any transformational journey, in my view, is time to think, right? And time to explore. Today, one unfortunate fact that we face in many careers and in many lives is that people are just way too busy. They are way too busy in transactions. They are way too busy in doing duties. They are way too busy in repeatedly doing the same thing after the other. Eventually, maybe towards the end of the day, getting an instant gratification in terms of what got delivered and how busy they were through the day that has passed. But the opportunity lost there is the time to think, the time to explore, the time to dream, which in my view is extremely important to find a different purpose, to find a larger purpose, and actually to start exploring a path towards something new. So in my view, that time is important. And in that sense, at times we end up hearing that many a times the most creative, the most innovative ideas might end up coming from lazy people. Now, keep the fun part of it aside, but I think it's important to create that space for yourself to move ahead.
I like the last part where you said lazy people. So I guess I still have some hope there, Tejas. But I guess self-motivation on one side, and this is really very important. And some of the guests did speak about life getting so busy, and mostly it's all technologically driven. Even this podcast we are recording using technology, but maybe
True.
helping technology for our transformation rather than getting used by technology, I would say.
True.
So
And maybe before
yes,
you jump to your next question, Momita,
sure,
maybe
sure.
let me ask you a question,
Sure.
because this is the finale, and I think this is probably the last opportunity in this series for anybody to ask you a question. So you, of course, have been speaking to all the 11 people before me during the episodes, and you have heard so many stories. You have been personally involved in those conversations. What has been your personal takeaway on the topic of transformation through this journey? Have some of your own beliefs actually shifted through the last couple of months?
Oh my God, that's one of the most difficult ones because I started the podcast with the intent that yes, let us understand transformation better, let us explore the word. But the versions that I'm now sitting with, they just some of the conversations have really been very, very deep, and it made me rethink: do I understand transformation well? So one such conversation, and I remember the line also, the desire not to be is transformation. I think I just cannot forget this line because everything becomes routine, everything we do, like with an end result in mind, and transformation is much beyond that. It's something which perhaps I don't know, some things that is ambiguous, and that's one thought that is still lingering on because I always felt transformation is something, maybe I know what I'm transforming into, but kind of now when I look at it, I do question myself, do I really know what I'm entering into? Do I really know the new version of Momita that possibly is going to be in some time, which is perhaps at work? Another place where, I really liked some powerful words and calling it the reinvention, calling it as re-innovate, using the word of rebirth. I thought this was
Mhm.
really very, very powerful of transformation because change, I guess all of us do that every day in some things or the other. The other day, I put up an exercise. Let's challenge ourselves to do 3 things new today. And in one of the groups that I am facilitating, and was so nice to see actually, 4 of them tried something different that day. One of them just sat down and painted a pine tree,
Mhm.
those little corn shells that you pick up. She just sat down and painted
Okay.
it because she thought she had never done something like that. So I guess transformation is all about challenging yourself to do something new. And one faith or one philosophy that I've always believed, it's all about, it's all within me. I can do it if I want to. I think that has
Wonderful.
got reinstalled in my faith that yes, it's all in my hand. I have a choice and I can make the difference if I want to. And now, when I listen to you, you spoke about motivation. Self motivation is very critical there to do something more, to do something different, or challenge yourself from doing the same thing every day. So this is, in a nutshell, I can go on and on, 11 episode stages. I've heard them so many times. So I can speak about each speaker, but I think one message to all my listeners now and all my speakers, that it has been a transformational journey for me, because I did not think when I started this series that this entire show, one, will be encouraged so well, will be supported so well. Each and every listener has been
Yeah.
sending me feedback, which episode has gone well, which episode could have been done better, and they have started also looking at transformation in a different way. I think that's where I am at this moment.
No, wonderful. And I think that one line summing up which you did, which is, it's all in my hand and it's all in me if I want to transform. I think
Yeah.
it's so apt. And I think apart from the 11 speakers and yourself, I also heard it from Novak Djokovic yesterday when he received the French Open title.
Yes.
And a lot of great people think alike. Good to know.
Yeah. Wonderful. And it's so, and I mean, I've been trying to create this entire surprise pulse to the season finale. I'm so glad we are doing it together. Thank you. Thank you, Tejas, for agreeing to do this with me. Since we're talking of transformation and all this while we have been summarizing, something that I would have asked you otherwise also, but I'm using the formal
Yeah.
platform to ask this question to you. Anything that you would like to transform about yourself?
I think loads, and probably and my answer may resonate with some of the speakers that I have heard on this series before. So it's kind of, to sum it up, it's a work in progress. So far, if I measure myself against some of the transformation ideas that I talked about, I think where I have so far succeeded is probably in creating a little bit of time and using that time for doing some things which I have not done before, right? Like maybe it was learning tennis or learning golf, or maybe traveling a bit more often and whatnot, right? But where I am still at is to uh, really try to figure out, is there a larger purpose that I'm looking for, which I would like to serve, which would demand that I bring in a larger transformation around me. And of course, I have changed. I have transformed myself in a professional sense, or maybe to some extent also in a personal sense. But I am not going into that, because I think those transformations are natural. They are a must, and I'm happy with those. But what I would like to do is probably going a little bit beyond that remit, and transform something with a purpose. And that is something which I'm still grappling with. I'm very, very hopeful that I will find that answer and a path at some point in time. And of course, you would be the first one to know.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add in, some of my friends do ask, what do you all talk? And now they know what we talk, Tejas. So I guess they will know the transformation stories that come up between us.
No, no, absolutely. But you know what? I think, of course, we have spoken a lot about transformation now. But before maybe you think of closing this finale, I think one last question from my side to you: what next?
That's a nice question for sure. And I think I've been thinking on it. I wouldn't say I'm 100% clear as to where I am and how the next podcast would look. But definitely, I would like to explore bits of transformation a little bit in smaller series, in smaller nuggets. That's something that definitely I want to do it. How I want to do it, what's the format? I'm not sure if I can share that, because it's not yet very formalized and concrete at this point. And definitely something very, very aligned to this thought process stages. You know me, and we have been talking about this. Something around the lines of being true to oneself. Uh, we talk of being in the corporate, we talk of being successful in the corporate, and something that perhaps we end up doing is carrying a self which may not be truly myself. So I would like to look at creating a series, or maybe hopefully let's see if I can come on a video podcast if it's possible, and talk about authenticity. Talk about,
Mhm.
can I be authentic, first of all, to myself, to others, to people around, in my personal as well as professional life. So this is still work in progress, but since you asked, and since it's my listeners, both of you all deserve to know what I'm thinking. So I thought I'll just share this thought at this point. What do you think?
No, I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. And if you have to bring the authentic face in front, what better than clicking on the start video button, and in that sense, making it a video podcast. And yeah, I really hope and wish that it takes your podcast series to the next level. And of course, I'll be here to help, witness, and criticize on that journey. So good luck with that.
Thanks for clarifying the criticizing point over there. I'm going to, I mean, of course, you have been one of my best motivator and best critic, Tejas. So I look forward to that. Uh, I don't have any questions as such, but is there any transformation or something that you have seen me? You have seen me since 99, started as a professional with you as trainees in Tata Motors, and now I'm here, your better half, hopefully.
Yeah.
What is one transformation you think you have seen in me and you would like my listeners to know about it?
No, I think your journey has been full of transformations. There isn't one that I can talk about. Maybe starting with the girl who probably was never interested in taking up a career, uh, and to you today, who not only got into a career but took that leap of faith to actually start out on your own and run that business successfully for over a decade, well over a decade now, and not stopping it there in terms of making it a BAU, but once again jump into an uncharted territory like getting into podcasting. Uh, I think has been a wonderful journey. Alongside that, of course, you have transformed, changed, evolved as a person as well. And of course, you know that because it's not just me, but there are so many people around you who always talk to you and give you that feedback. What hasn't changed about you for sure, and that's a good thing not to change, is the kind of confidence that you enjoy in people, and which makes people really confide in you, share their deepest secrets in you, because they know those are always safe with you, and at the same time they can be assured that they would get the right kind of a challenge or an advice from your side. So a lot of positive changes, and also a lot of positives like the last one that I talked about, which hasn't changed, but which I wish never changes as well.
Wow, that's a compliment on a social platform, Tejas. Thank you so much. And again, I guess I'm very happy to do the season finale with you. I didn't actually think of it. I didn't think of it, of closing this show with you as the final guest. Thank you again, and of course, we will talk again. But for our listeners, that's it for now.
Thank you.